If you're starting back or starting a new exercise regime, to offset the likelihood of injury, it's a good idea to stretch these 6 muscles. 6 sounds like a lot, but we have 6 hip flexors. We have psoas attaching to our lumbar spine, iliacus attaching to the inside of our pelvis, tensor fasciae latae, or TFL for short, attaching to the outside of the hip. Then we've got sartorius and rectus femoris, which also move the knee, and then a small muscle which is also an adductor called pectineus. The reason these muscles tend to be problematic is because they become habitually short and tight. The more we sit, or more accurately, the longer we sit for, the more these muscles become habitually short. And that means the nervous system gets used to them being in a shortened state. The fascia, the connective tissue that surrounds each layer of muscle, also has a tendency to get dehydrated and become a little bit sticky. And so we can get a sticking or gluing together of different layers of muscle. These two factors, our sticky fascia and our nervous system getting habitually misaligned, leads to an end result where our hip flexors become short and tight and lose their ability to extend and stretch. This means when we start into activity, this can start to torque our hip, pull on our pelvis and compress our low back, leading to a variety of low back pain, hip issues, knee pain, and even down into the foot and ankle. So to reduce your likelihood of suffering any kind of injury that might stop you in the early stages of your exercise program, we're going to look at 3 variations, 3 simple stretches that you can do to help get these muscles in good condition so it reduces your risk of injury and helps you to enjoy that new exercise regime. So the first hip flexor stretch we're going to do is a standing stretch. So I'm going to turn side on here. A couple of things we need to bear in mind when we're going to do these stretches, and you'll probably have seen this if you watched some of our videos in the past. We're generally going to just hold stretches for 2 seconds. We're then going to repeat that for the desired number of repetitions. So if you think you should normally stretch for 20 seconds, you're going to do 10 repetitions of 2-second stretches. If you want to do 30, it's 15, and so on. So the other thing we want to bear in mind is that the muscle we're trying to stretch should not be weight bearing. We want to be as relaxed as possible. So when I do this lunging, I'm going to have most of my weight on my front foot. The third concept to bear in mind is that we generally want to stretch the opposite muscles, what we would call the antagonistic muscles to the muscles we're trying to stretch. So the hip flexors are all in the front, we're going to tense the muscles in the back. Nice and simple. So in this lunge stance, my weight is on my front foot. I'm going to start by tilting my pelvis back. I'm going to engage my hamstrings and my glutes as I lunge forward. 1, 2, and relax. Now when I go forward, I should feel like I can almost lift that back foot off the ground. I'm only holding, remember, for 2 seconds, contracting the antagonistic muscles, contracting my hip extensors as I relax and hopefully lengthen and effectively stretch my hip flexors. Particularly this pelvic tilt helps stretch muscles like rectus femoris, iliacus, and psoas. I can actually favor one over the other by slightly varying the angles. Let me turn in a different direction for a second and you'll see what I mean. As the leg comes out, the leg is almost used like an indicator arrow. So with the leg further out, I'm favoring psoas. As I bring the leg in a little bit more, I can feel the stretch change on different muscles all the way through to tensor fasciae latae on the outside. So you can practice this, place your foot in different positions. You don't need to know which muscle is which, but you'll notice one area might feel more restricted than another. And that is the best position for you to stretch in today. So it doesn't need to be complicated. You can do this by feel. Let's see what works for you. Let's try this on the other side as well, just to balance ourselves up. So I'm going to face the opposite way. Remember, my weight is on my front foot. The back leg is the one I'm stretching. I'm going to start off by tilting the pelvis. Weight on my front foot as I lunge forward, contract the glutes and hamstrings for 2 seconds and relax. 3, 4, and relax. I'm going to count in 2s. 5, 6, and relax. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So you'll probably notice you didn't feel a very strong stretch. When you feel a really strong stretch, what you're actually feeling is muscle resistance. The muscle is contracting to protect itself and you are not really getting an effective stretch. Yes, you're lengthening a muscle, but you're lengthening against resistance. That's known as eccentric strength training, which is strengthening a muscle, shortening it, rather than actually lengthening and stretching. So if you want to get the most out of your stretches, keep it gentle, keep it simple. Next up, let's take a look at a kneeling version of a similar kind of movement. So for this, the leg that's on the ground, the kneeling leg, is the one that's getting stretched. And I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. I'm going to tilt the pelvis, lunge forward, weight more on that front foot, contracting my glutes and hamstrings, and relax. Tilt the pelvis, lunge forward, just 2-second counts. And again, we can change the position of the leg. We could bring that kneeling leg out from our body a little bit more if we wanted to get psoas particularly, or we could bring the knee in more if we wanted to get TFL, or play around with anywhere in between to catch any of the other 4 hip flexors, because there's 6 in total. Okay, let's repeat that on the other side, just for symmetry. So again, weight is on the forward leg as much as possible. I'm going to tilt the pelvis to begin with, contract my glutes and hamstrings, and relax. Repeating again, and relax. Just 2-second holds, and relax. 7, 8, and relax. 9, 10, and relax. 11, 12, and relax. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Again, if you wanted to do that stretch for longer, if you want to hold it for 30 seconds instead of 20, you're going to do 15 repetitions, up to as much as you like. The third version of this stretch, I'm actually going to do lying down. So we're going to change our camera angles a little bit. So for this one, I'm lying on my side. You could choose to put a pillow or something under your head. The leg that's down against the floor is actually going to be used to stabilize the pelvis. And it's the leg that's closer to the ceiling is the one I'm actually going to be stretching. So I want to start off by encouraging that same kind of pelvic tilt that we did in the standing version by pulling my knee up towards my chest. The other leg then, I can either take a hold of the ankle, or if you can't reach, you can use something like a stretch rope or just a towel. So I'm going to take a hold of my ankle, and again, I'm going to pull the knee up, almost rounding my back a little bit, and then I'm going to extend the leg back. 1, 2, and relax. 3, 4, and relax. And again, each time I'm thinking about contracting my hamstrings and my glutes. I'm not really pulling that much with my hand. I'm more using my hip extenders to bring the leg back, which relaxes my hip flexors. So doing this movement lying down is actually probably easier to control because I really can't be weight bearing on this leg, and I get probably a truer range of motion. But again, just holding for 2 seconds each time and relaxing. And this actually is kind of physical. The reason for that is I'm really working those hip extenders. I'm not contracting my hip flexors, I'm contracting my hip extenders. That's using the nervous system to try and retrain it and regain length and extensibility and get rid of that habit of keeping my hip flexors short and tight. Even already I can feel that range starting to increase. Let's repeat that on the opposite side. So once again, the bottom leg is being pulled up towards the chest, towards the sternum. The bottom leg, I'm taking hold of my foot, extending the leg out. 1, 2, and relax. 3, 4, and relax. Using those hip extenders to relax my hip flexors, which are kind of tight. That's good. So this is so quick. Already I can feel those muscles starting to lengthen. The movement is becoming easier, and I feel the range increasing nearly with each repetition. So because a lot of this is down to the nervous system, change can happen really quickly. And if our nervous system gets used to this new length in the muscles, it maintains it, and we're less likely to suffer injury then as we engage in sporting activity. So remember, our 3 golden rules are: the muscle should not be weight bearing when we're trying to stretch it. We should contract the opposite muscle so that we get our target muscle to relax, and that we're only going to hold for 2 seconds at a time and repeat as many times as you feel is beneficial for you. Remember, when stretching your hip flexors, you can play around with the angle of the leg and see which hip flexor feels tightest for you today and repeat your repetitions in that position. Hope you enjoyed this video, you found it useful, and after you've practiced this a few times, maybe let us know in the comments how you get on. If you'd like to see more content, let us know what you'd like to see as well, and be sure and subscribe to make sure you're ready for the very next video as soon as it comes out. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you guys again soon.